All right, time for some PFL news. This is going to be a long one. So what we're going to do is we're going to break this up into teams. I'll do the national. We have emails now, is something that wasn't previously shown in the training camp. As an update, I need to let you guys know that I couldn't finish the training camp. It got to a point where the game says, nope, you've done enough training camp, you can't do any further. So I had to skip the rest of them. I did part of the Terrors. It was pointless just to show off those ones. I apologize for anyone that's going to own the Terrors teams that did not get a chance to see part of the training camp for the Terrors. The rest of the teams didn't get any of them done. I was down to the last 4 teams. I got halfway through the Terrors, and then it wouldn't let me do any more. So I had to skip the rest of the training camp. So the paper's got a lot of news into it, so it's going to load in slow. Season preview: defense will carry the Looniversity. So these are the things that we need to take a look at. And of course, there is an article up here which was not in the training camp one. So we'll take a look at all of these. They're going to specify. You will see these articles show up in the local papers. So, season preview, training camp insider for the Acme Looniversity by Peter Samuel, special coordinator. Outlook: Looniversity should contend for a deep playoff run, particularly because of their stinging defense. Look for a quarterback, Thompson, to be a force this season. Offensive MVP, David Thompson. Defensive MVP, Todd McGuire. Prediction, 11-5, deep playoff run. So these are all predictions, not factual. So we will get into game plan once we do the practices, okay? So looking at the depth chart, this is what they're talking about here. So 95 quarterback. Look for the Looniversity to be a major threat for the season. Stadium info. This will give you infos. I will talk about upgrades during the off season, but you have to have money to do it, and doing the selling the merch, doing the advertising and stuff like that is crucial. Position battles. This is what we're looking for in the preseason, in the Looniversity preseason and stuff like that. I will explain the position battles when I do local papers, but this is definitely what we're going to be looking at. So you'll see this one again. View roster, expectations. So we'll also see this as well in the regular season more, because right now fan expectation is expected to be above average, okay, for the Looniversity for this season, all right? Madden only calculates up to 30 season, but I can take this out forever as long as I want, all right? I have to write down every stat, keep them archived. The game erases all of those. Team info. Looks like offense is 25th. Defense is 1st. Total team, I guess, is 12. So, yeah. Let's do Knothole. So, these are going to be basically looking at, I'm going to read most of these. So, we got the season preview for Knothole. Okay, they're looking inside the training camp here. Oh, look, the FD Fighters have the potential to be one of those teams that get on a little run and makes it to the Super Bowl. Their offense is good enough to get them there, and I really like their tackle, Shane Mayberry. Offensive MVP, Shane Mayberry. Defensive MVP, Roland Wolfard. Okay? DK Jungle Kongs. I'm going to go out on a limb here and go with the Kongs. DK Jungle's offense is better than most people think. And their defense isn't great, but it'll keep them in the games. I think players like Cedric Fox can make a difference. Call me crazy, but I like the Kongs this year. So if we look at their expectations to be above average. Team info, their prestige isn't that great, but here's what it is. Season preview. This is for the Kansas Wildcats. Outlook, the Wildcats have enough talent to get by, but their offense is going to have to dictate the pace of the game. Offensive MVP, Lewis Carson. Defensive MVP, Deshaun Roja. Prediction, 10-6 wildcard. What did they predict Knothole to be? Nothing. Okay. Season preview, Pallet Tigers. Catherine Browning again. I'm going to go out on a limb here and go with the Tigers. Pallet's offense is better than most people think, and their defense isn't great, but it'll keep them in the games. This is basically the same as she said for the Kongs, which I can see where she's going with it. The teams are pretty much evenly matched. I think players like Jason Sylvester can make the difference. Call me crazy, but I think I like the Tigers this year. So she likes Kongs and the Tigers. All right, Bobcats. I'll look. Bobcats fans should be happy because there's no question their team will contend this year. How far they go will suspect defense in the real question. Offensive MVP, Adrian Gilbert. Defensive MVP, Vincent Page. Prediction, 9-7. They're going to miss the playoff. That's a good prediction. I mean, we'll see, right? We'll kind of see as the season goes. All right. So, we're going to do the Badgers first. We're going to take a look at their emails as well. If you're a head coach for the Badgers, you need to look at the emails as well. So I will post the emails in this video. So when I timestamp it, you will see the email right there with your team. Season preview, Badgers. Bearing injuries. Pewter City will be there. Want to guess who is the dark horse favorite this training camp? Yes, Pewter City Badgers. They seem to have just the right pieces to make an impact late in the season. Do they now? All right. While we're in here, we're going to take a look at their position battles, and they've got 4 positions. We have Alan Pedersen and John Law for first-string wide receiver. We have John Law and Donta King for second-string wide receiver. So, John Law is expected to be in 2 different positions. If Pedersen does not make first string at the end of the preseason, by default he is second string wide receiver, and Donta King becomes third. If Pedersen wins first string, then John Law still has to battle Dante King. If Dante King beats John Law becomes third string wide receiver. So that's where that worked. John Law can definitely drop down to third string if he doesn't play his games very well. Most likely, I see John Law being second string and Dante King being third in this situation. So we have the right tackle. We have Kevin Swine and Alex Schmidt. They will be battling for right tackle for the offensive line. We have two guys that are battling for middle linebacker, Anthony Simmons and Austin Johnson. They will be fighting for the defensive position. Viewing each of their matchups shows you nothing because we haven't had any games. I will look at these next week to see where they fare, okay? And you guys can make your own judgments from there, okay? All right. So, gentlemen, start your season. That's a NASCAR reference. The preseason opens this week, and some position battles have already been announced. Giving the players the opportunity to battle for a starting job is a great way to give each guy some confidence. So I don't need to check injury report. Nobody's played. I don't need to check standings. I could take a look at the team info. They're a little bit half. So this is okay. So each week I will take a look at the team info to see if the prestige has changed or anything like that. Okay? So that's this is the filler news. Teams that decide to upgrade their field to the new synthetic grass turf are really pleasing with the results this preseason. Most of the players agree that difference between it and real grass is negligible. And most stadiums are using the synthetic grass right now. They call it the grassy turf because they got rid of the artificial turf, which is mostly just foam and a carpet on top. NFL automatically deemed that to be unsafe. Popular practices popular. I stopped by a practice this week and that thing was packed. I never expected so many people to be there. But football is so popular that fans can't wait for the regular season to start. Of course not. Anticipation mounts. NFL fans have started a petition to shorten the preseason to one game, which still has not happened. Primarily because they want the regular season to start now. We don't mind the preseason, one fan told me. We just want the season to start earlier. The NFL decided to shorten it to 3 weeks to see if the injuries reduced. They have noticed that the injuries are reduced between preseason and regular season, but regular season has gained more injuries than they had when they had 4 weeks in the preseason. And they have had more concussions now than they had before. It's because players are literally ramming their heads into other players, which is why there's so many of them that are getting concussions and stuff. All right, time for the Bobcats. All right, so this may be the same. Oh, this one's a little different. Let's see, Bobcats. Oh, look, great offense. Overall, a fairly talented team that could win the division and make the playoff. Offensive MVP, Adrian Gilbert. Defensive MVP, Vincent Page, which is the same as the national paper. But what's different here is the predictions still 9-7, but this time Peter is saying that they're going to make it to the wild card and lose. That's it. So let's take a look at their position battles here. They've got 6 positions here. Wide receiver, only one wide receiver position. This is the starting wide receiver position. We have Corey Clayton and Joel Matthews. They're going to be battling each other in the games and stuff to see how they do. Okay. Everything's still open. You can still sign up. My brother and I are going to probably be working with picking plays until people start signing up. Let's see. Then we have center. Center's offensive guy. We have Gennaro Di Napoli. He is actually a center that was playing back in 2005. Then we have Devin Olson. Right tackle, another offensive position. Dave Hunt, Jevon Jackson. Left outside linebacker, defensive position. RB Teague and Brent Fitzgerald. First string cornerback position, defensive position. James Mitchell and Colby Woodson. And second string cornerback position, Colby Woodson and Juan Springler. I explained it with the wide receiver. If Colby Woodson makes first string, Mitchell is automatically second string, which puts Juan Spengler third string. He'll automatically get third string because he's only battling with Woodson. He's not battling for Mitchell. He's only battling for Mitchell. He's not battling for Mitchell. He's battling for Woodson. Woodson wins. That means he's automatically third. Woodson wins first string. He's automatically third because he's not battling against Mitchell. So that's how that works. All right. Gentlemen, start your season. Love it or hate it, the preseason means a lot to the NFL teams. It's a time of the year where the teams, I should say PFL, not NFL. It's a time of the year where the teams start to find out what they're made of. Players battle for starting jobs. Leaders emerge and battle lines are drawn. We're only 4 weeks away from the regular season. And if you're owning the team, you can pick your team captains. Otherwise, they're going to be automatically generated. I won't pick the team captains for those that are not without an owner. I'm going to have them automatically generated. If you are the owner of your team, do consider picking team captains. I read this one. I read this one too. Anticipation mounts. PFL fans have started a petition. No, we already read that one. All right. I'll do the emails after the paper. All right, so keep an eye on the emails. I forgot to go and check the emails right after, but I'll do this after the paper. Titanium Busters. Let's see what we got. Look, the Busters are a good team. There are some question marks, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a team like them get hot near the end of the season and make a serious run at the playoffs. Keep an eye on the strong safety Frank Snyder, the Busters' defensive MVP, and he doesn't name an offensive MVP. Doesn't give out their standings or if they're going to make it to the playoffs. Let's take a look at position battles. They have 5 positions. We have halfback, which is an offensive position, Harold Sierra and Jamie Oshresh. They're going to be battling for starting halfback position. Wide receiver, offensive position, Max Stevens. Jay Ogden. They will be battling each other in the preseason. Right guard, which is an offensive position. We have Elijah Smith and Benjamin Williams. They'll be battling for an offensive line position. Defensive tackle, as the name suggests, it's a defensive position. Peter Gaynor and Blake Whitman will be battling each other in the preseason. Cornerback position, as I said, it's a defensive position. Trevor Crawford and Jeff Neely will be battling each other in this preseason. Okay. Read that one, that one, and that one. All right. No. Centurions. All right. So, oh look, Nightopia needs to get out of the gate quickly. They'll need some padding down the stretch to make the playoffs. Keep an eye on Casey Black. He's an impact player on the defensive end. That is the unspoken leader of the defense. And let's take a look at their position battles. They have more than 6 positions. So they're really fighting for... They have a lot of evenly matched position. They have 2 wide receiver positions that they're working with. They have Jeremy Thomas and Dexter Carey. Dexter Carey is also battling Bobby Fields for second wide receiver position. And I've explained how this works, so I don't think I really need to explain it anymore. Left guard, offensive position. It looks like they're battling for the offensive line to see who's going to start out. We have Philip Butler and Desmond Baker. We have the right guard as well, Lewis Simpson and Corey Castle. We have right tackle position, which is also part of the offensive line, Terry Ambrose and Tony King. We have a defensive tackle position, which is going to be at the defensive line, Michael Baldwin and Mark Martin. We have an MLB position here, which is going to be in the linebacking position on the defense, Paul Patterson and Alonzo Short. We have a strong safety position that's being battled, which is over there in the secondary on the defense, Brad Sanders and Rashad Gilbert. We'll see how these two match up into the preseason as the preseason goes further. All right. So, moving on to the Convicts. All right. Outlook. I like what the Convicts did in the offseason. Despite some grumblings from the fans, the team is good enough to make the playoffs. Offensive MVP, Thomas Ross. Defensive MVP, KC Shaw. Prediction 10-6 wild card. They expect them to lose the wild card. Position battles. They have 6 positions. I expected quarterback position battle because they were basically evenly matched when I did the training camp. We have Ben Baker and Aaron Mitchell. Wide receiver position, Ralph Foster and Jamal Richardson. Right guard position, Spencer Sellers and Thomas Ross. Left end position, which is the defensive line position, Jim Waters and Kenny Mixon. We have 2 cornerback positions being fought, Randy Jackson and Nate Fitzgerald and Mike Duberling. So we'll see how well those 2 matches up into the preseason. We have the Cougars coming up as well. They don't have a very important paper. NFL rules, leaping to block a kick. This is PFL is using NFL rules. Rule 12, Section 3, Article 1 of the 2004 Official Playing Rules of the National Football League, page 86, which is probably slightly modified today. Defines the unsportsmanlike conduct leaping penalty as follows. Clearly running forward and leaping in an obvious attempt to block a field goal or try kick after touchdown and landing on players. unless the leaping player was originally lined up within 1 yard of the line of scrimmage when the ball was snapped. All right, so I want to take a look at their position battles because that's what we're looking for in the preseason. We will look at them each week. So they have a wide receiver in position, Dusty Murphy and Lennox Little. We have Chad Lewis and Frank Johnson for tight end. Tight end is also an offensive position. Left tackle, which is an offensive position. Lonnie White and Carl Macy. Left end position, another offensive position. Luke Norton and Anthony Cross. We have right tackle position. So they've got a whole bunch of offensive guys that they're working with. They have more than 6 positions, so we're going to see some defensive guys in battle. Mike Ziegler and Kyle Turley are both battling for right tackle position. All right, defensive tackle, Steve Winters and Rod Walker. Cornerback position, we have Andy Montgomery and Randy McCormick. And that will be the end of their preseason battle listing. We'll see how those do during the preseason. We have the Coyotes. I like what the Coyotes did in the offseason despite some grumbling from the fans. The team is good enough to make the playoffs. Offensive MVP Joel Bell, defensive MVP Lamar Carty, prediction 10-6 Wildcat. These predictions are like over there on the top because we have a bunch of fairly even teams into the PFL right now. So there's going to be a bunch of wins and losses throughout the season. So I expect to see maybe 1 or 2 teams out of the league that's going to reach that 10 and 11, maybe 13 and 14 wins at the season. But I don't see a lot of those double-digit wins because they're so far even. They've got 4 position for position battles. We got Dave Nelson and Bobby Shaw for wide receiver. We have Darren Bush and T. Long. We have, they were for tight end position. For right end, we have Roman Clark and Steve Parker. We have, for cornerback, Quentin Ostrich and Aaron Beasley. We're going to see how they do into the preseason. The Dragons. This is guarded opposition in Dragons camp as the Dragon Roost hopes they have the piece in place to contend for a playoff spot this season. The team has some talent, and with a little bit of luck, they could be playing on in January. We'll see about that. They have 4 positions that are being battled up. First string wide receiver positions, Corey Daniels and L. Adams. Second string wide receiver positions, L. Adams and George Branch. Defensive tackle position is Brian Boone and Bruce Massey. Cornerback position is Steve Easley and Glenn Pappas. All right, so I don't see anything new over there. All right, the FD Fighters. Another surprising team might just be the Knothole FD Fighters. The FD Fighters have a good team. Not a great one, and they should be able to pull out more than a few victories with their high-octane offense. And they did have some really good players, but they don't have much in terms for position battles. So it's nice to see more positions battling because that tells the other teams that, oh, you guys got some fairly evenly matched players. So you guys got a lot of players that you're working with. That's good to see. But when you have not a lot of positions that's being battled for, that tells the other teams, well, it seems like they don't have a lot of good players on the team. So this could be the year the FD Fighters may be struggling. 2 wide receiver positions. Our first string battle is Eli Lowe and Quincy Rich. Our second string wide receiver position is Quincy Rich and Derek Fisk. All right. The Generals. So, I look optimism is filling the air in Michigan, where fans expect at least to make the playoffs this year. Offensive MVP is Ed Kirkland, which I think he's a running back. Excuse me. Defensive MVP, Dorsey Myers. Prediction 9-7. Wild card. So I'm gonna see quite a few like 7s, 8s, and 9s throughout the entire season. We may see lower ones because we do have a few teams that are just up there. And by looking at the views, I have 2 teams that has the highest view counts for the training camp. The view counts are over 200 for both of them. That's the Hyrule Knights and the Michigan Generals. Are they predicting the teams for this year's Fantasy Bowl? We will find out. We will find out if the Knights and Generals will be the 2 teams that makes it into the first Fantasy Bowl. All right. They got a bunch of position battles, which is good to see. All 3 quarterbacks are battling. You have Marty Cook, you have John Carter, and you have Bennett. They're all battling for the quarterback position because they're basically all evenly matched. So, and you've got a fullback position, which is the other offensive position. They run the ball, they catch the ball, they block. They do everything. That's why they're called the fullback. They do everything. They play the line, except for they play behind the quarterback. But their job is to protect the quarterback. They can run with the ball. They can catch the ball. They can do everything on that field. So, our fullbacks are Jake Brown and Stanley Prickett. Wide receiver position, Joe Bryant and Brian Perez. Left tackle position, Joel Erickson and Matt McDowell. Right guard position, Nick Rutledge and Gerald Wilson. Right tackle position, Ed Kirkland, which is not, I mentioned Ed Kirkland. He's not a running back. He's a right tackle. Sean Wilson is the other guy. Left end position is Edgar Frederick and Mir Sapp. MLB position is Orlando Ruff and TJ Slaughter. So that's good to see. We like to see position battles. We want to show that we have a team to play up against the other team. The Hawks. Let's see, NFL Tuesday. Tuesday is a traditional day off for NFL players during the season. This is for NFL. We will be practicing on Tuesday. So I think they changed that. All right, so we are going to take a look at the position battles here. Wide receiver, we have Victor Sylvester, Alfred Martin. Left guard, Benny Rickett and Andrew Morrison. We have right tackle, Tupe Peko and Shavin Raja. Right end position, Lake Frazier and Sammy Bannister. All right. So we're going to be going to the Knights now, which is one of the teams that was expected was one of the most viewed training camps. The atmosphere in Hyrule is electric. The Knights have one of the best teams in the NFL and arguably the best offense in the PFL. I got to start reading the NFL's PFL. As I walked around camp, I could see the chemistry between the players. Donnie Smith and Randy Thomas were joking around, and Coach Del Rio was trying to maintain order with the threats of an afternoon practice. Things are good in Hyrule. So that's scary reading that article right there, that little small bit of that article. So they have 4 positions. The other teams are thinking, since if they got 4 positions, what's going on with the rest of the team? So in long sight, we're looking at a team that has all good starters. Their backups are bad. So if their starters go, it changes that team and reverses it to a 360 to make them one of the worst teams in the league. So they have to make sure that they don't have so many injuries. Saying a wide receiver position battle is very good. Rob Donaldson and Phil McClain. If both of those receivers are playing, they have hopes of carrying that offensive line further. Seeing 2 left guards in a battle, they can flip-flop these 2. Greg Charles and Ryan Guzin, which means the offense is going to still hold out. Right tackle position, James Johnson and Albert Green. Defensive tackle position, Jeremy Jean and Leonardo Powell. Okay. Here's the Kongs. Season outlook for the Kongs. Outlook. The Kongs have the potential to be one of those teams that gets on a little run and makes it to the Super Bowl. Their offense is good enough to get them there, and I really like their quarterback, Cedric Fox. Offensive MVP, Cedric Fox. Defensive MVP, Tiki Schmidt. And let's see what they have for position battles. They only have 3, which is it's going to be a little questionable for them for their position battles. Wide receiver positions, we have Eli Robinson and Freddie Mitchell. Freddie Mitchell should be a familiar face in the NFL. Right tackle position, we have Frank Middleton and Scott Gregg. Cornerback position, we have Bob Adams and Dwayne Washington. I'm not real too familiar with Dwayne Washington, even though he has an official face. So a lot of these guys that I see official faces onto them, they probably did not make quite the impact in the NFL. So Leopards. All right. Outlook. Optimizing is filling the air in Montana, where fans expect at least make the playoff this season. Offensive MVP, Zach Dawkins. Defensive MVP, Darren Gill. Prediction 9-7 wild card. In their position battles, they got 2 wide receiver positions. Trey Moore and Randy Sawyer for first string wide receiver. Randy Sawyer and Peter Herman for second string wide receiver. Right guard positions, Ted Howard and Dorsey Price. Cornerback position is Kerry Styles and Rob Martin. So we're going to see them battle it out. Acme Looniversity. Just like the national paper, they have a fan up there. Here in Acme, the emphasis is on defense. The Looniversity will pressure the quarterback, contain the run, and force turnover. Sound like a recipe for a Super Bowl run to me. Everything flows around middle linebacker Todd McGuire. The time is now for him to step up and take charge. So they have a few 5 positions here for position battles here. Halfback, we have William Jones and Kenny Spires. We have a tight end position is Cornelius Dickerson and Rashad Rivers. We have a left tackle position, Aaron Brady and John Nielsen. We have a left end position, David Stiles and Jimmy McKenzie. We have 3 defensive tackles in line for the first string, Elijah Hawkins, Nate Langford, and Vanelli. So we're going to see them battling it out. Magics. All right, I'll look. Defense. 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 This overpowering group could allow the Magics to squeak past teams in the playoffs. Keep an eye on the offense. What they do this season will determine how far Las Vegas goes. And let's see what they got. They got quite a few position battles, which is good to see. Wide receiver, first string wide receiver, Dusty Whitman and Kenny Rice. Second string wide receiver, Kenny Rice and Curtis Conway. Tight end position, Tyrone Fryer and Cobe Small. Left guard position, Louis Rotoli and Willie Hennings. Right end position, Mike Fox and Dorsey Page. Defensive tackle position, D. Austin and Lamar Galloway. First string cornerback position is Rick Benson and Ashley Ambrose. Second string cornerback position is Ashley Ambrose and Trevor Sindel. And that will be the end for the Magic's training camp. All right. We got the Medics coming up here. So let's see what that says here. I'll look. I like what the Medics did in the offseason. Despite some grumbling from fans, the team is good enough to make the playoff. Offensive MVP, Dan Neal, and defensive MVP, Walt Shaw. Prediction 10-6, wild card. All right, position battles for the Medics. They got a good number of them. Halfback position, Zach Campbell and Lamar Fox. First string wide receiver position, Damian Hughes and Tyrone Lewis. Second string wide receiver positions, Tyrone Lewis and Tim Brown. Left guard positions, Ernie Price and William Mitchell. Center position is Chris Terry and Charlie Stone. Defensive tackle positions, Edward Jasper and Charlie Norman. Left outside linebacker position is Tony Henson and Larry Johnson. Cornerback position is Chris Nichols and Bobby Brackens. So we move on to the minors. I recently spent a week with the minors during training camp, and besides being a very gracious host, California has got a pretty good team. They won't blow people away, but they will make some noise. I like them to make the playoff as a wild card. See what they got in position battle. 6 positions. First string wide receiver position is going to include 3 players. We have Andrew Madden, Michael Green, and Terrell Hopkins. Second string wide receiver position, Michael Green and Terrell Hopkins. So Terrell Hopkins can, in fact, work on being first string. So in this situation here, You cannot just say that Madden's going to automatically be second string, because Michael Green, he's battling for first and second, and Terrell Hopkins also battling for first and second. So Madden is also going to be have to work with third string if he doesn't make first or second. So that's the sad news. But if Madden makes first string, then both Michael Green and Terrell Hopkins will have to battle for second string. And any one of these three teams can be third string. Michael Green or Terrell Hopkins, if either one of them makes first string, Madden is automatically a third string because he will not drop in the second string. That's how that works. It's a big leap because one of those teams will automatically get second string because they're fighting for first. Left guard, Dave Foray and Lawrence Hall. Left end, Craig Clayton and Marcus Salem. Defensive tackle, Chris Malone and Chris Warren. And cornerback position, Rashawn Mills and Tyrone Law. All right. Montagues. Season preview for the Montagues. Twilight Montagues. I may have to go and fix that. That spelling is completely off. Twilight Montagues are one big question mark. Can they pull things together and get in time for the playoffs? Can they rally around a player like Quentin Cox? Only time will tell. Let's look at the Twilight Montagues. Apologies for the spelling because I thought that spelling was correct. Unless that is an error on EA, because I'm pretty sure I spelled it correctly. But then again, it could still be mine. Okay, we had the same situation with the wide receiver position. Monte McGuire and Lewis Turner and Doug Lofton are all battling for first string. Second string wide receiver is a battle between Lewis Turner and Doug Lofton. Right guard is Perry Largent and Calvin Teal. Left end position is Gilbert Brackens and Todd Black. Defensive tackle is Ellis Johnson and Eddie Freeman. Free safety is Jeff Finley and Corey Fuller. All right. Plunderers. All right. I recently spent a week with the Plunderers during training camp, and besides being a very generous host, Greenhorn has got a pretty good team. They won't blow people away, but they will make some noise. I like them to make the playoff as a wild card. Let's see. They got quite a list here. Halfback, Mark Manson, Earl Berry. Wide receiver is Ray Jenkins, Otis Strickland, and Ken Green. Second string wide receivers, Ken Green and Otis Strickland. Left guard positions, Rock Smith and Ray Kirby. Left end position is Lewis Stevens and Chadi Ahautu. Right end positions, Lamar Crawford and Clarence Ingram. Cornerback position is Randy Wilson and Eric Anderson. Okay. Rangers are up. They don't have articles here. What do we have here? This is the same thing. So, because there's a whole bunch of rules they could mention. That's why I look. So they got 5 positions here. We have a fullback position here. Brian Armstrong and Corey Widman. Wide receiver position is Ty Streets and Tom Buller. Left end position is Greg Teague and Richie Johnson. Cornerback position is Eli Phillips, Ronnie Peterson and Rick Warbell. Second string cornerback position is Rick Warbell and Ronnie Peterson. See how those guys goes. The Raptors. Overrated. There, I said it. I know I'm going to catch some flack for it, but I'm going to stick to my guns. The Raptors look great on paper, but how many paper champions have we crowned in January lately? Well, we're not doing this in January. We're actually doing this in the summer. So the playoffs will be in the summer. None. They're going to have to prove it to me. All right. And they don't have very many in the position battle. So left tackle is Adam Fields and Tarek Warren. Cornerback position is Marvin Fisher and Ray Carroll. All right. So we're moving on to the rivals now. All right. Outlook, decent team that has gotten way too much press for their talent level. Not sold on their potential. Offensive MVP, Joe Lane. Defensive MVP, John Carter. Prediction 6-10, no playoff. And they've got a bunch of position battles here, so we'll see how this goes. Jeremy Atkinson, Tyrone Wheatley. Wide receiver positions, Bobby Arrington, Leroy Hanks, and Johnny Morton. Second string wide receiver, Johnny Morton, is Leroy Hickson. Tight end position is Ricky Dudley and O.J. Santiago. Right end position is Pete Dillon and Eric Sullivan. Defensive tackle is Lorenzo Teague and Mark O'Neill. Cornerback position is Richard Burns and Joseph Gilbert. All right. Rock Crushers. Let's see if they have another rule in here. All right. Leap to blocking a kicker. We read that rule. All right. Royals. All right, no, we need to go back to Rock Crushers. I forgot to take a look at their position battles. So, we have fullback position, Amos Bates and Bradley Graham. Wide receiver positions, Corey Murphy and Cotto Mills. Center position is Tony Polk and John Winters. Right tackle positions, Eric Burns and Stephen Mays. Right end position is Lamont McFields and Josh Baker. Defensive tackles, Craig Peterson and Ted Mitchell. Left outside linebacker is Vaughn McCaffrey and Jeff Jones. Cornerback position is Donald Green and Pete Buckley. Strong safety positions, Tony Dixon and Eddie Cole. So, we're going to move on to the Royals. Let's take a look at their outlook here. Mushroom has a good shot as any else to make the playoffs this season. As long as they get a balance on offense and solid defense, don't count them out. Keep an eye on injuries. The Royals must stay healthy in order to have a shot. All teams need to stay healthy if they're going to ever get a shot. Halfback position, Russell Hilton and Damon Addis. Wide receiver, first string wide receiver is Casey Bowden and George Richard. And Joey Strasser. Second string wide receiver is Joey Strasser and George Richard. Left tackle is Jeff Henson and Bobby Hanks. Left guard position is Keyshawn Evans and Whaley Williams. Right tackle position, Ben Burnett and Zach Dixon. Right outside linebackers, Tyrell Rogers and Kedrick Snow. Cornerback position is Zach Hamilton and Chuck Floyd. All right. We're on to the Sharks, I believe. Let's take a look. Yeah. Sharks are in the news. Outlook. Defense wins championship. That is the central truth in the PFL. This defense could get the Sharks there, but the offense must do their part. Offensive MVP, Joseph Rogers. Defensive MVP, Jay Ford. Prediction 9-7. Conference playoffs. They're pushing the Sharks all the way into the conference playoff, which is one game before the Super Bowl. In our league, it's the Fantasy Bowl. Left guard, Jason Poole and O.J. Paris. Left end is Jay Ford and Nick Douglas. Defensive tackles, Anthony Thompson and Anchel King. Right outside linebackers, Dean Brown and Juan Simmons. All right. So looking at the Stars, we don't have an article here for them. So let's take a look at their position battles here. So they got 5 positions going for them. We have a wide receiver position, Dwight Johnson and Richard Gordon. Left outside linebackers, R.J. Brown and Chris Brown. Are they brothers? First string cornerback is Rod Griffith and London Jordan. Second string cornerback is London Jordan and Jason Long. Strong safety position, James Sharper and Steve Clay. You gotta love the randomness when they put these all together. These position battles. Alright, so Pangya. I like what the Superstars did in the offense in the offseason. Despite some grumbling from the fans, the team is good enough to make the playoff. Offensive MVP, Carnell Marshall. Defensive MVP, D. Banks. Prediction 10-6, wildcard. All right, so they got quite a few positions going here. For quarterback, Eugene Shade and Kel Finley. Wide receiver position, Chris Parkman and Mo Houston. Tight end position, Adam Spikes and Cameron Roberts. Left guard position, Tom Newton and Clay Guzin. Center position, Adam Reed and Tony Bonds. Left end position, Dexter Hashings and Tiki Little. Left outside linebacker positions, Donnie McFarlane and Anshel Timmerman. MLB is Ben Avery and Curtis Dahlman. Cornerback position is Robert Payton and Brandon Carson. All right. Going to the Terrors. Like I said, Terrors got half the preseason going, and I had to skip the rest of them. So, preseason for the Otto Terrors. Decent team that has gotten way too much press for their talent level, not sold on their potential. Offensive MVP, Randy Page. Defensive MVP, Ed Jefferson. Prediction 6-10, no playoffs. Take a look at their position battle. Quarterback, Eli Austin and Zachary Green. Wide receiver position, Randy Page and Toby Lamont. Left guard position, Derek Turley and Jim Brown. Defensive tackle position is Michael Wagner and Deion Bennett. First string cornerback positions, Tracy Cannon and Ray Trapp. Second string cornerback positions, Ray Trapp and Leroy Vickers. Free safety positions, Randall Gamble and Alan Gilbert. I think that's the first free safety position I've seen in this. Time for the Tigers. Outlook. The Pallet Tigers are a team that screams overrated when you look at them. Sure, Randy Sweeney is good, but what about his supporting cast? Keep an eye on Jason Sylvester. He has to step up if Pallet wants to make playoff plans. Let's see where we're at. We have 2 position battles. Wide receiver, Irving Miller and Lionel Brown. Right outside linebacker, Deuce Patton and Landon Robinson. Warriors. So, their outlook here. Want to guess who's the dark horse favorite this training camp? Dark Hyrule. Yes, Lorule Warriors. They seem to have just the right pieces to make an impact late in the season. So they are called the Lorule Warriors. They were originally Dark Hyrule before the Link Between Worlds came out. And when Link Between Worlds came out, we changed them to Lorule Warriors. It's a fitting name. They have 5 position battles. Halfback, Cedric Matthews and Garrison Hardis. First string wide receiver is Corin Robinson, Brian Williams, and Luke Walker. Second string wide receiver is Luke Walker and Brian Williams. Left tackle position is Max Dixon and Ernie Davis. Cornerback position is Dwayne Mulneri and Jim Nellens. And one last team featuring the Wildcats. So we have the Wildcats here. Another surprising team might just be the Kansas Wildcats. The Wildcats have a good team, not a great one, and they should be able to pull out more than a few victories with their high-octane offense. Let's take a look at their position battles. They have 6 positions. Wide receiver, Rick Gonzalez and Jeff Bridges. Left tackle positions, L.J. Zimmerman and Horace Simmons. Left end position as Percy Curtis and Walker Peterson. Left outside linebacker is Leslie Chrisman and Edge Langler. Right outside linebacker is Jermaine Waters and Jamie Zimmerman. And the cornerback position is Chris Clark and Antoine Brown. And that will take care of the newspaper. We will be looking at emails here, starting off with the Bobcats. So the first email is from Coach Lewis, sent to the training camp. Subject, chances. We have a good team, but I don't know if we're great. Message 2 is sent from the GM, sent to the training camp, subject preseason. The preseason kickoff, and there are a few things we need to keep an eye on. 1, position battles. Remember, players' stats in preseason will determine the winners of the position battles. 2nd, injuries. Keep our best players out of the games. If they get hurt, our season could be ruined. Message 3 from Coach Lewis, sent to the training camp. Subject, team captains. If you want input on who our team captains are going to be, just go to their player management screen and roster. Name the individual guy's team captains. The 3 players you name will be at the coin toss for every game. Message 4, sent from the GM, sent to the training camp. Subject, practice. Make sure you go to the practice every week. It'll help familiarize you with the team and the opposing team's playbook. Message 5, sent from the GM, sent to the training camp. Subject, EA Sports Radio. I don't know if you've heard of this Tony Bruno guy, but he's the highest rated sports radio host out there, and his show on EA Sports Radio is hilarious. Check it out if you guys get a chance. All right, time for the Bobcats message. First message from Coach Nolan, sent to the training camp. Subject, chances. We have a solid offense. I just want to see if the rest of them can keep pace. Second message from the GM, sent to the training camp. Subject, preseason. The preseason kickoff, and there are a few things we need to keep an eye on. 1. Position battles. Remember, player stats in preseason will determine the winners of the position battle. 2. Injuries. Keep our best players out of the games. If they get hurt, our season could be ruined. Message 3, sent from Coach Nolan, sent to the training camp, subject team captains. If you want input on who our team captains are going to be, just go to their player management screen and roster and name the individual guys training or team captains. 3 players you name will be at the coin toss for every game. Alright, 4th message from the GM sent to training camp practice. Make sure you go to practice every week. It'll help familiarize you with the team and the opposing team's playbook. Message 5 from the GM sent training camp EA Sports Radio. I don't know if you guys heard of this Tony Bruno guy, but he's the highest rated sports radio host out there, and his show on EA Sports Radio is hilarious. Check it out if you get time. Alright, next is the Busters from New England coach. Sent training camp, subject chances. We have a good team, but I don't know if we're great. Message 2 sent from the GM. Preseason kickoff and there are a few things we need to keep an eye on. Position battles. Remember, player stats in preseason will determine the winners of the position battles. Injuries. Keep your best players out of the games. If they get hurt, our season could be ruined. From New England coach. If you want input on who our team captains are going to be, just go to their player management screen and rosters and name the individual guys team captain. The 3 players you name will be at the coin toss for every game. From the GM for message 4, make sure you go to practice every week. It'll help familiarize you with the team and the opposing team's playbook. Message 5 from the GM. I don't know if you guys heard of this Tony Bruno guy, but he's the highest rated sports radio host out there, and his show on EA Sports Radio is hilarious. Check it out if you get the time. Alright. Centurions. So a lot of these messages are going to be the same, so I want to, because my video is going to be over an hour long right now, so I'm going to read messages that are important and not the repeats. Coach Shanahan, this is important. We have a good team, but I don't know if we're going to be that great. This is the same as before. GM, keep an eye on for position battles and injuries, okay? So that's important, but I won't reread everything, so make sure you look at that. You can pause the video. Coach Shanahan, he mentions the team captains and stuff. You can go and pick 3 guys you want, and they'll be at the coin toss. You have to go to team management to do it. Alright, team player management. So, in this message 4 from the GM, wants you to go to practices and familiarize with their opponent's playbook. Message 4 talks about the Tony Bruno show. Alright, Convicts. Message 1, we have a good team, but I don't know if we're that great. Next one's from the GM again. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Alright. Message 3, again, from their players. 4, pay attention to the opponent's playbooks. Familiarize yourself with them. Go to practice every week. We will be doing game plan. 5, Tony Bruno show. All right, Cougars. Message 1 is from the GM. So keep an eye on position battles and injuries when you get there, okay? All right, Coach Cower talks about team management, picking team captains, okay? 3, go to practice. Okay? Make sure you go to practice. Familiarize yourself with the opposing team's playbook. 4 is Tony Bruno show. 5, Coach Cower. Let me give you the rundown on position battles. Every preseason, I'll have guys battle it out for certain starting jobs. Based on their preseason performance, I will name the starter. Be careful with the players. If I name one guy a starter and you demand I bench him, he will get very upset. So keep an eye. Remember that. All right, Coach Gibbs. We're in the Coyotes. I have a good team. We have a good team, but I don't know if we're great. So, preseason. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. You can go name your team captains over in the team player management. Let's see. Go to practices every week. Familiarize yourself with the opposing team's playbook. They're talking about the Tony Bruno show. Dragons, we have a good team, but I don't know if we're that great. So keep an eye on position battles and injuries throughout the preseason. See, if you want input on who, okay, this is for team captains. Go to team player management. Message 4 is talking about practices, familiarizing yourself with the team's opposing playbook. And this is for the Tony Bruno show. FD Fighters, we have a solid offense. I just want to see if the rest of the team can keep pace. In the preseason, keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to team player management and pick team captains. Go to practice every week. Tony Bruno show. All right. We have a good team, but I don't know if we're that great. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to team player management and pick team captains. Go to practice every week. Tony Bruno show again. Familiarize yourself with the position battles and injuries. Go to team player management and pick team captains. Go to practice every week. Tony Bruno show. All right, Coach Fisher says, let me give you the rundown of position battles. Every preseason, I have guys battle it out for certain jobs. This is the same thing what Coach Cower said. Based on their preseason performance, I will name the starters. Be careful with the players. If I name a guy a starter and you demand I bench him, he'll get upset. Okay? So, same thing. The first message is going to be a little different. So, our offense can score a ton of points. I can't wait to see them in action. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to team player management to pick team captains. Go to practice every week. This is about the Tony Bruno show. Kongs, we have a solid offense. I just want to see if the rest of them can keep pace. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to team player management and pick team captains. Go to practice every week. And this is about Tony Bruno show. Leopards, we have a good team, but I don't know if we're that great. Let's see. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to team player management and pick team captains. Go to practice every week. Tony Bruno show. Okay. Looniversity, I love our defense this year. I think they will carry us to the playoffs. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to team player management and name team captains. Go to practice every week. And again, Tony Bruno show. All right. Keep an eye on preseason. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to team player management and pick team captains. Go to practice every week. This is about the Tony Bruno show. Again, this is the same thing. Let me give you the rundown on position battles. Every week, every preseason, I will have guys battle it out for certain starting jobs based on their preseason performance. I will name the starters, blah, 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 blah. You know, the rest of it says if I name a guy that starter and you get upset, he'll be upset, okay? Demand him to be benched, he'll get upset. So don't do that. All right. Medics. We have a good team, but I don't know if we're that great. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. All right. Go to team player management and select team captains. Go to practices every week. This is about the Tony Bruno show. We have a good team, but I don't know if we're that great. Keep an eye on your position battles and injuries. Go to team player management and select team captains. Go to practice every week. This is about the Tony Bruno show. We have a good team, but I don't know if we're that great. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to team player management and pick team captains. Go to practice every week. Tony Bruno show. We have a good team, but I don't know if we're that great. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. And go to team player management and pick team captains. This says go to practice every week. This is about Tony Bruno show. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to team player management and pick team captains. Practice every week. Tony Bruno show. This is the same thing. Coach will want you to go. He's picking guys for position battles, and he will pick the winner based on stats. Okay? Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to team player management, pick your team captain. Go to practice every week. This is about the Tony Bruno show. Same thing. Coach picks players for position battles based on their stats. He calls in for a starter. Blah, blah, blah. All right, rivals. We have a good team, but I don't know if we're great. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to team player management and pick team captains. Go to practice every week. And this is about the Tony Bruno show. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to team player management and pick team captains. Let's see. Go to practice every week. Tony Bruno show. Coach is going to pick players to battle for position battles. Based on stats, he picks starters. All right, blah, 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 and all that stuff. We have a good team, but I don't know if we're that great. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to team player management, pick team captains. Go to practice every week. This is about the Tony Bruno show. Sharks. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to team player management and pick team captains. Go to practice every week. Tony Bruno show. Coach is going to pick players for position battles based on their stats. He will name starters and all that, okay? Stars. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Whoops. Go to team player management and name team captains. Go to practice every week. This is about Tony Bruno show. Again, coach is going to pick players based on stats he calls starter. All right, Pangya Superstar. We have a good team, but I don't know if we're that great. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to their team player management and pick team captain. Go to practice every week. This is about the Tony Bruno show. Terrors. We have a good team, but I don't know if we're that great. Position battles and injuries. Keep an eye on them. Go to their team player management and pick them as the team captain. Go to practice every week. This is about the Tony Bruno show. We have a solid offense. I just want to see if the rest of them can keep pace. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to team player management and pick the team captains. Go to practice every week. This is about Tony Bruno show. Warriors. We have a good team, but I don't know if we're that great. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to team player management and pick team captains. Go to practice every week. It's about Tony Bruno show. Wildcats. We have a solid offense. I just want to see if the rest of the team can keep pace. Keep an eye on position battles and injuries. Go to team player management and pick team captains. Go to practice every week. This is about Tony Bruno show. So, as we went through expectations, team info, we mentioned this before. I don't see too much changes with this, but the prestige and stuff will change as the season goes through. So do keep an eye on those. So ignore the prestige. That's all what the last season went through. So because the last season because we're basing this on NFL stats. Okay. I'm just going to go through here. And it's also nice that you want to see how much, if you need to go get players and stuff, see how much you have in your cap room. So far, it looks like everybody's cap room is okay. Some of them are a little tight. Double digits are fine. But when you get into the single digits, that's when these things start to get very, very tight. So these are showing you who they're going up against. And it's nice to see this because then you can see how you're going to fare compared to them. So some of it's evenly matched, some of them are lopsided. And once we get into the games and stuff, we will take a look at the depth chart and stuff like that. So slightly even right there. And these will change throughout the course of the season and stuff. I want to make sure that these are all in the video. No icons. No icons. You can name icons if you so choose so. But most likely you won't see any icons until at the end of the first season. So that's natural that there is no icons there. If I was playing with the regular teams and the regular players and stuff, yeah, icons would be there. So moral's good. Moral's good. Every team should be good. This is going to be a long video. So I want to do practices starting on Sunday. Practices will be live. I do want to start the games on Wednesday, and I want to hopefully do 4 days. So, yeah. Standings, they don't mean anything right now. Injuries, they don't mean anything right now. Philosophy. So, philosophy is actually pretty good because this will basically show you what each side is actually going to be doing in the game. And each coach has their own philosophy on how to construct and run the team. So, and what's interesting about this is once players retire from the league, you can add them as coaches. So that's also something to see. We probably won't see that anytime soon. All right. So game plan is what this is going to look like. So we have, there's nothing that's going to be showing on these, but they will. We've shown this already. We will cover all this in practice, and we will cover this in practice as well. So that's it for the news. I know this one was going to be a long one because we had a little bit more information to deal with, but I hope you like it. All right, that is going to be it for the PFL news for week 1 of the preseason. See you at practice.